Casinos have been looking to rebound as Las Vegas Sands rises despite reporting mixed results. Investors have been eyeing the potential future bright spots for the company. And this comes after both Las Vegas Sands and Wynn resorts got a boost yesterday from reports that Macau was preparing to reopen this weekend following its strict COVID lockdown. Joining us now to discuss is Macquarie Analyst Chad Beynon. Chad, it's good to see you. Usually I feel like we're talking to you about AMC or other stuff, but casinos is definitely an interesting one as well. And as I look at these results here, it does seem like the focus is mostly on the future and on the reopening and what that's going to mean for these companies. So what are you seeing on that front?
Absolutely. Thanks, Julie. Yeah, happy to talk about Asian gaming, which we haven't really spoken about for about 2 years. The United States has come back. We're setting records every single month. Spend per visit has been up. We've been waiting for Asia to reopen. So what we got last night from Las Vegas Sands was a result that showed that travelers to Singapore, which is about 50% of where it was pre-pandemic, are going to their property and they're spending more than they were previously. So the result in Singapore, which is the number one profit generating asset in the world, came back to almost pre-recession levels. It was about 90% of where it had been before that. Macau, as you mentioned, remains closed. So those assets were closed for 2 weeks. But I think what we gathered from this was that Asian consumer was maybe as pent up as the US consumer. So when Macau opens, hopefully in the third, fourth quarter and into 23, maybe we're all being a little conservative in terms of the recovery that we'll see, and Las Vegas Sands is squarely positioned on that Asian gaming consumer.
Chad, I want to zoom in for a moment on Atlantic City. Now, we've seen some reports that Atlantic City might ban smoking. Do you see them going that path, and what would be the impact to the casinos if they do that?
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, this is something, historically, we always assume that a smoking ban would result in a 20 to 30% impact to revenues, obviously higher on profit. It would affect jobs, it would affect the tax revenues, et cetera. Most states in the U.S. have banned smoking at casinos. When we look at the Northeast corridor, New York, Connecticut, several of the properties in the Philadelphia market are smoke-free. So this one's a little bit different, where if you ban smoking, where will those consumers go? You get about a third of customers from New York, a third from Philadelphia, and a third from the other areas. So that 20 to 30% hit that we've always assumed is probably going to be, in our view, probably closer to like a 10% hit. But obviously, the mayor, the governor, everyone is kind of focused on these jobs. In areas where you can smoke, the results on some of those slot machines are 50% higher. So the general managers, the employees recognize that there's some outperformance right there.
Chad, kind of post the buoy or the rising tide that revenge travel has given to some of the reopening constructs for the casinos and that broader experience economy, or that part of it, what precedent have we seen in past recessions for how consumers engage with some of these same experiences, and where that actually may be a dampener on their broader reopening or reinvigoration efforts?
Sure. Last recession, peak to trough, revenues went down about 10%, and that came back quite quickly. In Las Vegas, what we had said was consumers were walking past the blackjack tables and the slot machines and going towards restaurants, nightclubs, day clubs, et cetera. That was kind of the start of really the spark for a lot of the non-gaming in Las Vegas back after the global financial crisis. We expect a similar type of dynamic, partly because those types of amenities can adjust pricing on a daily basis. Hotel rates for the luxury segment right now are at all-time records. We're seeing that across the country, across the world, particularly in resort-type locations. Las Vegas hotel prices are kind of back to pre-pandemic levels. So there's no reason why we don't expect for a steak dinner, a glass of wine, a day club and nightclub to increase prices. For a blackjack table or a slot machine, it's a little bit harder to do that. You're almost just changing the rules or changing the limits. So we think that's kind of where the strength will be. So one of the stocks that we like as a result of that is MGM Resorts. They focus on the luxury customer in Las Vegas, and they generate about 2/3 of their revenues from non-gaming.
At the same time, Chad, zooming way out here, because you alluded to hotels and you cover hotels that are non-casino hotels as well. Do you think we are at peak demand right now, medium-term peak demand? Do you think it's inevitable that as we start to see more of the inflation bite, more concerns about recession, that things are going to start to decelerate a lot?
For the leisure customer, absolutely. We think the summer is a YOLO type of theme where people are spending probably more than what was in their budget. And that leisure customer is up significantly versus pre-pandemic. The convention customer is still probably down 5 to 10%, and the traditional business traveler is down a little bit more than that. When we look at the numbers in terms of TSA travel, we're still down versus pre-pandemic. But what we've seen, again, is that luxury upper upscale type of product in major cities and resorts are very strong right now. And we don't think there's going to be much elasticity there on pricing. One of the reasons why we like Hyatt, that's our top name in our hotel coverage. They focus on luxury, wellness, leisure. They certainly have higher end type properties, not as much kind of on the mid end. And we think they should be able to do well during this time period.
9:54 a.m. and we've got a YOLO mention from Chad Beynon, Macquarie Analyst. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it as always.